He prays, he talks about Islam, he wears the thobe, he says all the right things, and you think, mashallah, maybe he's the one. But behind closed doors, he's cold, he's harsh, he makes you feel small, and suddenly, what looked like a blessing starts to feel like a burden. Sister, just because a man looks religious doesn't mean he lives the religion. And just because he talks about Islam doesn't mean he fears Allah behind closed doors. Before you say yes to his proposal, before you silence that voice in your heart, listen carefully. Because today, we're not just talking about red flags. We're talking about protection, your heart, your peace, your future. Let's talk about the 7 types of men Islam warns you not to marry, and why saying no to the wrong one might just be the prayer that leads you to the right one. Bismillah. Let's begin. Lesson 1. The man who uses Islam to control you. He says, "Obey me, it's your duty." He quotes hadith whenever you ask a question. He reminds you again and again that he's your leader, your qawwam. But when you feel afraid to speak, when you feel like your voice doesn't matter, that's not Islam. That's fear dressed up as faith. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was given leadership by Allah, yet he never ruled his home like a king. He never silenced his wives. He never raised his voice to make them obey. He, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, led with love, not force. He corrected with wisdom, not shouting. His strength was not in controlling, but in caring. Islam gives men responsibility, not power to abuse. A real man of Islam doesn't scare you into obedience. He earns your trust. He protects your heart. He speaks with gentleness, even when he's hurt or upset. But when a man uses religion to win arguments, when he throws ayahs and hadiths at you like weapons, that's not leadership, that's ego. That's a man more interested in being right than being kind. And sister, don't confuse control with care. Just because he watches over you doesn't mean he's protecting you. Sometimes it's not about love, it's about power. And power without mercy is dangerous. A man who truly fears Allah will never make you feel worthless. He will never twist the words of Islam to control your life. He will make you feel safe, not scared. He will create peace, not tension. He will listen, not just lecture. He will lead you gently, not drag you behind him. If you find yourself always apologizing just to avoid another lecture, if you feel like asking questions is a sign of disobedience, if you feel small next to him, like your voice no longer matters, step back. Because the Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, never made a woman feel that way. You were not created to be silent under fear. You were created with dignity, and the man who deserves to lead you is the one who lifts you with love, not pressure, with guidance, not guilt, with softness, not superiority. May Allah protect every heart from men who misuse His words, and guide every woman to a man who lives by them with sincerity. Lesson 2. The man who prays but lies. He prays in the masjid. He shows up for Jummah. He speaks about taqwa, lowering the gaze, guarding the heart. But behind your back, he hides things. He deletes messages. He changes names in his phone. He tells you half the story and keeps the rest in the dark. He uses religious words in public, but in private, he plays games. He says Wallahi with ease, even when he's covering up sin. And sister, that's not taqwa, that's deception. Don't be fooled by how someone prays. Don't be convinced just because he can recite the Quran. Because if his heart still lies, if his tongue still hides the truth, his prayer hasn't reached his soul. Islam doesn't only forbid zina, it forbids betrayal. It forbids dragging someone's dignity through hidden sins. It forbids smiling in your face while stabbing your trust behind your back. The Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said, There is no faith in the one who cannot be trusted, and there is no religion in the one who breaks promises. Let that sink in. It doesn't matter how beautiful his voice sounds in salah, if his words outside prayer are filled with lies. It doesn't matter how many surahs he knows, if he keeps secrets that break your heart. Trust is not a small thing. It's the foundation of peace in marriage. And once that foundation cracks, the whole home begins to shake. You begin to feel anxious. You start checking things you never used to. You cry at night wondering what's true and what's not. You no longer feel safe, even if he hasn't raised his voice once. And then he flips it on you. He says, "You're insecure. You have trust issues. But sister, don't let him gaslight you, because you're not paranoid. You're picking up on energy that your soul can feel, even when your mind tries to deny it. A man who lies once and doesn't repent can lie again. And a man who cheats once and blames you for his sin will repeat the same cycle again and again, not because you're not enough, but because he's not ready to be honest with Allah or with himself. Marriage is supposed to be a space where hearts rest, not break. It's meant to be a place of trust, not confusion. A real believer fears hurting you, not just getting caught. So ask yourself, does he fear Allah enough to tell the truth when it's hard? Or does he fear losing you and hides the truth to keep you? Because the man who truly loves for the sake of Allah will guard your heart like it's his amana. He will speak the truth, even if it costs him. He will never place you in a position where your soul feels unsafe. Don't trade your peace for a man who makes you question it. And don't ignore the red flags just because he prays. Because prayer without honesty is like a body without a soul. And the man who prays with his limbs but sins with his tongue is not leading you to Allah. He's leading you to heartbreak. May Allah protect you from false promises and write for you a partner whose heart fears lying more than it fears losing anything else. Lesson 3. The man who's only kind in public. He's polite. He shakes hands at the masjid. He smiles at the imam. He helps elders cross the street. And online, he posts reminders about patience and mercy. To the world, he seems perfect. Everyone loves him. They say, "MashaAllah, what a good brother." They think he's the dream every woman makes dua for. But you see another side. The side no one else sees. At home, the smile fades. The kindness disappears. He walks past you like you don't exist. You try to speak, but he doesn't look up. You cry, and he scrolls through his phone. You ask for help, and he says, "Not now." Outside, he's gentle with strangers, but inside, with you, he's cold, sharp, distant. Sister, know this. The Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was the same in public and in private. He didn't just teach Islam on the minbar, he lived it in his home. He, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, would sit with his wives, listen to them, serve them, help them. He smiled at them. He noticed their pain before they had to say a word. There was no mask, no double life. What you saw in public, you felt even more at home. If a man treats others better than he treats you, if he saves his best manners for outsiders and gives you silence, anger, or neglect behind closed doors, that's not love, that's performance. Islam is not a show. Marriage is not a stage. A good man doesn't just play the role of a believer, he lives it. Not only when people are watching, but when it's just you and him, in the quiet of your home. And sometimes, the hardest part of being with this kind of man is that no one believes you. You try to speak up, and people say, "No way, he's so kind. He would never do that." And you begin to doubt your own pain. You stay silent because you don't want to ruin his image. You stay silent because no one sees your tears. But Allah does. Allah sees what the world cannot. Allah knows what happens behind closed doors. And Allah is not fooled by filters, smiles, or public worship. Sister, don't marry a man just because others praise him. Don't fall for how he talks at events. Don't choose a husband based on his reputation. Choose him based on his reflection of Islam when no one's looking. Ask yourself, does he pray with peace but live with harshness? Does he show softness only when there's an audience? Does his character match his image? Because the man who posts about mercy online but withholds it from you at home is not someone who fears Allah. He fears public judgment, not divine accountability. Marriage is not about being admired by people. It's about being known, valued, and respected by the one who sees your soul up close. And the most dangerous kind of pain is the one you feel in silence, next to someone who only acts like he cares when others are watching. May Allah guide you to someone whose kindness is not for show, whose mercy begins at home, and whose character speaks louder than any post, speech, or praise. Because the best man is not the one who impresses the crowd, but the one who brings peace to your heart when no one else is around. Lesson 4. The man who makes you feel unworthy. You open your heart. You try to explain what's hurting you. You speak softly. Sometimes you cry. Sometimes you stay quiet, hoping he'll ask, "Honey, are you okay?" But he never does. Instead, he sighs. He says, "You're too emotional." He calls you sensitive. He tells you to stop overthinking. And after a while, you start to believe him. You begin to think that maybe your feelings don't matter. You stop talking about what's bothering you. You cry in secret. You pretend everything's fine when it's not. And slowly, your soul starts to feel heavy. You smile less. You laugh less. You carry everything inside. All you ever wanted was to feel heard, to feel held, to feel safe, not just physically, but emotionally. Sister, Allah created you with emotions for a reason. You are not weak because you feel deeply. You are not dramatic for having a soft heart. Allah made you that way so you could love fully, so you could connect with your spouse, your children, your Lord. Your emotions are not flaws. They are signs of a living, breathing, caring heart. And you deserve a husband who understands that. A husband who doesn't get annoyed when you're sad. A husband who doesn't change the topic when you start crying. A husband who doesn't scroll on his phone while your voice trembles. You deserve someone who sees your pain and stays present in it. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the most emotionally present man. When his wife Aisha radiallahu anha was upset, he didn't ignore her. He noticed, he asked, he waited, he listened, he comforted. He didn't mock her feelings. He didn't walk away. He didn't tell her to stop overreacting. He made her feel safe in her emotions. And that's what love should feel like. Not silence, not rejection, not shame. A marriage without emotional connection is like a body without a soul. You may live in the same house, sleep in the same bed, eat at the same table, but inside, you feel like strangers. Your heart feels far. Your words are bottled up. Your love turns into quiet sadness. And after a while, you start asking painful questions. Maybe I expect too much. Maybe I should stop being so needy. Maybe I should just be strong and not feel anything. But sister, no. Needing love is not weakness. Needing to talk is not annoying. Needing softness is not wrong. You were created to give love, but also to receive it. You don't have to beg to be heard. You don't have to stay silent just to avoid being called emotional. You don't have to carry every emotion by yourself while he stands beside you like a wall. If he's physically present but emotionally absent, that's not a partnership. That's loneliness with company. That's isolation behind a smile. That's crying yourself to sleep with someone snoring next to you. And slowly, it begins to break you. Not all at once, but piece by piece. Every time he dismisses your pain, a little more of you goes quiet, until one day you stop speaking altogether. Not because you're healed, but because you've given up. Ask yourself, when I speak, does he listen? When I cry, does he care? When I'm quiet, does he notice? A man who truly loves for the sake of Allah will never make you feel like your heart is too heavy for him. He will honor your softness. He will sit in your sadness. He will remind you that you're not alone. He won't just say, "I love you." He will show it in how he responds when you are hurting. Emotional neglect isn't always loud. It doesn't always come with shouting or anger. Sometimes it comes with silence, with cold eyes, with indifference. And that kind of silence breaks a woman more than words ever could. You were not created to be ignored. You were created to be loved deeply, sincerely, completely. And the man who deserves your heart is the one who sees your tears and wipes them with gentleness. The one who sees your silence and leans in to understand it. The one who sits beside you in your storms, without judgment, without pressure, just love. May Allah protect you from cold hearts and send you someone who makes you feel heard, even in your silence. Someone whose presence fills the emptiness, and whose love reflects the mercy of our Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the most emotionally gentle man to ever walk this earth. Top of form, bottom of form. 5. The man addicted to secret sins. He says he loves you. He looks calm. He doesn't scream. He doesn't hit. He says, "I'm just stressed." He says, "It's just a phase." But deep down, you feel something is off. He disappears for hours. His phone is always locked. He hides things from you. Sometimes his money is missing. His eyes look tired. His mind feels far away, even when he's sitting right next to you. You ask him where he's been. He gets defensive. You tell him you're worried. He says you don't trust him. He promises he'll stop. He promises this is the last time, but he doesn't stop. And it's not the last time. He has habits he doesn't want you to see. Maybe it's gambling. Maybe it's drugs. Maybe it's watching haram. Maybe it's something secret that only he knows. And you love him. You want to believe him. You hope if you just love him enough, he'll change. But the truth is, love alone cannot heal what only taqwa can. You start lying to cover for him. You say, "He's just tired." You cry alone at night, hoping things will get better. You pray for him. You blame yourself. You say, "Maybe I didn't do enough." But this is not your fault. When someone is trapped in addiction of any kind, it doesn't just destroy their life. It starts to destroy yours too. And slowly, you begin to lose yourself. You stop laughing. You stop trusting. You live in fear. Not fear of violence, but fear of what tomorrow will bring. Will he lie again? Will he disappear again? Will he come home angry? Will you find something on his phone again? And he keeps telling you, "I can stop any time. Once we get married, I'll change." But sister, if he won't change for Allah now, he won't change for you later. Marriage is not a cure for addiction, and you are not his savior. Allah says in the Quran, "Do not destroy yourselves with your own hands." This means don't walk into pain thinking it's love. Don't break yourself trying to fix someone else. Islam teaches us to be patient, yes. But patience is not letting your heart die in silence. Patience is not closing your eyes to a pattern of harm. Patience is not watching someone choose haram again and again while you carry the pain of it. A man who truly fears Allah will seek help. He will take responsibility. He will protect you from his weakness, not hide behind your love while hurting you with it. If he is drowning and he does not want to swim, you cannot jump in and save him. You'll only drown too, and that's not marriage, that's suffering. You deserve a man who comes to you whole, Not someone who uses your love as a hiding place. Not someone who says the right words, but chooses the wrong actions every day. Ask yourself, can I build a future on a heart that keeps breaking mine? Can I raise children with someone who is still battling himself? You were not created to fix someone else's sins. You were created to worship Allah in peace. And the man who's meant for you will not bring you closer to destruction. He will bring you closer to Jannah. May Allah protect you from hidden pain and guide you to someone whose private life is even more beautiful than what the world sees. Someone who doesn't hide behind Islam, but walks with it, even when no one's watching. Lesson 6. The man obsessed with control, not care. He says, I'm just looking out for you. He says, I'm your husband, I know what's best. He tells you who you can talk to, where you can go, what you should wear, and even how you should think. At first, it might feel like care. You tell yourself, he's just being protective. You think, maybe this is what Islamic leadership looks like. Because he doesn't scream, he doesn't raise his hand, he just speaks with certainty and control. And slowly, you begin to doubt yourself. But soon, things begin to change. You find yourself explaining every small move. You feel afraid to make simple decisions without asking him first. You pause before speaking. You delete contacts just to avoid a fight. You stop seeing your friends. You don't call your family as often. You stay home all the time, not because you want to, but because you're afraid of what he'll say if you go out. He doesn't call it control, he says it's protection. But sister, love does not lock you inside. Love does not clip your wings. Love does not isolate you from the people who care about you. The Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, had the highest position a man could have. A prophet, a leader, a husband. Yet he never monitored every move his wives made. He never placed fear in their hearts. He never made them feel like prisoners in their own homes. Leadership in Islam is not about ownership. It's not about one person deciding everything while the other stays silent. Real Islamic leadership is full of mercy, compassion, and trust. It means guiding with wisdom. It means protecting through love, not fear. But a man who is obsessed with control will use religion like a shield. He'll quote verses. He'll bring up hadiths. He'll say things like, a righteous wife obeys. But he forgets the rest of the ayah. He forgets the part about kindness, justice, and responsibility. He forgets that the Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said, the best of you are the best to your wives. Not the loudest, not the strictest, not the most feared, but the best in character. When you feel more like property than a partner, that's not marriage, that's imprisonment. And it doesn't always start loud. Sometimes it starts quietly. You don't need to wear that. Don't talk to her, she's not a good influence. Why do you need anyone else when you have me? And little by little, your world becomes smaller. Your light begins to dim. Your laughter fades. You lose touch with the people who once made you smile. You stop being yourself. And the saddest part, you don't even notice it right away, because you've been told over and over, this is what a good wife does. But a good wife is not a silent one. A good wife is not a hidden one. A good wife is not a caged bird in the name of religion. You were created with a mind, with a voice, with a soul, and no man has the right to take that from you in the name of leadership. If a man truly fears Allah, he will lead you with love. He will protect your dignity, not erase it. He will encourage your growth, not stunt it. He will create space for your voice, not punish you for using it. If he tells you your opinions don't matter, if he makes you feel guilty for having feelings, if he uses religion to silence your identity, that's not protection, that's possession. And the most dangerous type of controller isn't the one who yells, it's the one who smiles while slowly making you disappear. You begin to feel like you need permission to just be yourself. You feel guilty for wanting a moment of joy. You feel anxious over every word, every step, every choice. You keep thinking, maybe if I just do better, he'll be kinder. But his kindness is not tied to your behavior. It's tied to his need for control. Sister, this is not what Allah intended for you. Allah created you with honor, and no one, not even your husband, has the right to take that honor away from you. You were not made to be invisible. You were made to be loved, respected, and cherished with mercy. If his version of Islam makes you feel suffocated, that is not Islam. That is ego in disguise. And if his rules only benefit him while draining you, that is not justice. That is control dressed as piety. May Allah protect your heart from men who twist his words and guide you to someone who lives them with truth, someone who leads with tenderness, advises with gentleness, and makes you feel stronger, not smaller. Because real love in Islam is not about power, it's about peace. Lesson 7. The man who looks down on you. He's the man everyone praises. He's kind to strangers. He's polite with elders. He shakes hands with the imam. He always says, "Assalamu alaikum," with a big smile. He even gives talks sometimes, reminding others to fear Allah and stay humble. On the outside, he seems like the perfect Muslim man, the kind of person every family wants for their daughter. People say, he's so religious. He prays at the masjid. He's active in the community. He's a good one. But at home, everything changes. When the doors close and no one's watching, his softness disappears. His smile fades. His voice gets sharp. His words become cold. Sometimes he doesn't speak to you at all. In front of others, he's generous. To you, he's distant. In public, he says kind things. At home, he ignores your feelings. He prays tahajjud but forgets your tears in the kitchen. He shares Quran verses but doesn't listen to your pain. He helps people in the community but leaves you emotionally alone in your own home. And that's what makes it so hard, because when you try to speak up, no one believes you. They say, "He's such a good man. He would never treat you like that. Maybe it's just a misunderstanding." But it's not. You know what happens when the lights are off. You know how it feels when you cry and he walks away, when you speak and he rolls his eyes, when you ask for warmth and he says, "You're too sensitive." You know the silence. You know the coldness. You know how alone it feels to lie next to someone and still feel unloved. And you wonder, how can someone talk about Islam all day but not live it inside their home? Sister, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was not just beautiful in public. He was most beautiful in private. He helped his wives. He smiled at them. He listened when they were upset. He never made them feel invisible. He didn't hide his mercy. He gave it freely, especially to those closest to him. That is the true Sunnah. That is real Islam. A man's character is not tested when he's being praised. It's tested when no one is watching, when there are no cameras, no crowd, just his wife, his home, and his heart. The most dangerous mask a man can wear is the mask of religion. He learns how to look the part, but forgets how to be the part. Islam is not just about praying, fasting, and speaking Arabic words. It's about kindness. It's about truth. It's about mercy, respect, emotional presence, and character, especially at home. If he raises his hands in prayer, but not to help you when you're struggling, if he gives beautiful reminders, but never apologizes when he hurts you, if he smiles at everyone outside, but gives you only silence inside, that's not Deen, that's image. You weren't created to be a prop in his public life. You weren't created to keep quiet to protect his reputation. You were created by Allah with honor, with value, with light, and the man who truly fears Allah will never dim that light just to shine brighter himself. You don't need a husband who impresses the world. You need one who makes you feel safe in your own home. You don't need someone who knows how to perform Islam. You need someone who lives it, deep in his actions, his words, and especially his private character. And if no one believes you when you speak up, know that Allah does. Allah sees the nights you cried alone. Allah hears the words you were too scared to say. Allah knows the truth behind every smile. Don't let society's praise silence your reality. Don't protect his image while your heart breaks silently. Marriage is not about public approval. It's about private peace. It's about coming home to someone who treats you with the same respect he gives to strangers. It's about having a husband whose voice is soft even when he's tired, whose character stays kind even when he's tested. Ask yourself, does his private self match his public image? Does his mercy show when there's no one to impress? Do you feel more loved in silence or more alone? Because the worst kind of loneliness is the one you feel in a full house with someone who makes everyone feel loved except you. May Allah protect you from empty kindness that only exists for attention and guide you to a man whose goodness begins in private. A man who is gentle behind closed doors, soft with your heart, and sincere with his fear of Allah. Because real love in Islam starts where no one can see. And real men of faith, they are the kindest when the world isn't watching. If you saw even a small piece of your story in any of these men, don't ignore it. Don't silence your heart just to protect someone else's image. Don't call your pain patience when it's actually quiet suffering. Islam honors your heart. It protects your dignity. It does not ask you to break yourself just to keep a man in your life. It does not reward you for surviving emotional neglect, control, or deceit. It calls you to peace, to love that is sincere, to homes filled with mercy, not fear. Marriage in Islam is not just a contract between two people. It is a sacred trust with Allah. It is supposed to bring you closer to Him. It's supposed to calm your soul, not confuse your heart. You weren't created to walk on eggshells. You weren't created to beg for attention. You weren't created to carry a man's darkness just because he wears the right clothes or speaks religious words. You were created with light, and that light deserves to be protected. If you're waiting for a sign, if you've been praying for clarity, maybe this message is the answer. Maybe Allah is showing you something you've been trying not to see. Maybe that small whisper in your heart, the one that says, "This doesn't feel right," isn't doubt. Maybe it's divine protection. And if you've already said yes, if you're already married and hurting, please know you are not alone. There is always hope. But healing begins with honesty. Change begins with accountability. And growth begins when both hearts are willing to turn back to Allah. You are allowed to ask for love. You are allowed to ask for peace. You are allowed to say, "I don't feel safe. I don't feel seen." Because Islam does not teach silence in the face of harm. It teaches wisdom, justice, and courage. Take your time. Don't marry to escape loneliness, because the wrong marriage multiplies it. Don't rush just because others are rushing, because the right man will never require you to shrink in order to be loved. The man who deserves your hand is the one who fears Allah when no one is watching, who doesn't just speak about the Sunnah, but reflects it in his tone, his actions, and his heart. When you honor Allah in your standards, He will honor you in your outcome, because what is written for you will never require you to lose yourself to receive it. So protect your heart, protect your Deen, and trust that what Allah has for you will never come through fear, control, or dishonesty. It will come through peace, through love that lifts you, through a man who sees you as a blessing and treats you like an amana. If you made it to the end of this message, take a moment, leave a short dua in the comments. Even if it's something as simple as, Ya Allah, protect my heart and guide me to what's best for my dunya and akhirah. You never know whose Ameen might be accepted. And if this message helped you, please don't keep it to yourself. Share it, because you might just save someone from a mistake they were too afraid to walk away from. May Allah guide you, protect you, and write for you a marriage filled with light, safety, and sincere love. A love that begins with Him and leads you back to Him. Top of form, bottom of form, 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 top of form, bottom of form.